Hello and welcome to the latest edition of The Source. I'm Surya Greer. We have a lot to share with you today, including how some of us spent our spring break.
I'm Nana Adjamine. I'll be taking you to Paris, where a few lucky GW students spent a whirlwind week with journalists and artists in the City of Light.
It's a bit windy today out here in the Tidal Basin, but hundreds of people are still visiting for the Cherry Blossom Festival. We'll bring you the story next.
This year, 25 students decided to ditch the typical Cancun and Jamaica spring break spots to spend a week in Paris for an international media seminar course at GW. Nana was one of the lucky people on the trip and is here to fill us in. Nana?
Thanks, Surya. Just a few weeks ago, I was eating a baguette under the Eiffel Tower and taking courses at the International New York Times. Take a look at how it went.
The program kicked off with an ideal introduction to Paris, cruising along the Seine River, giving students the opportunity to take in the architecture of the city. The goal of the trip was for students to take all the international knowledge they studied so far in the course and apply it to their experiences and encounters in Paris with professors and journalists.
Even though it's probably not part of the intense art market like New York or London or even Berlin now, Paris is still an incredibly influential place in the world of ideas and in the world of art and in the world of culture.
We not only visited the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, Sacré-Cœur, and the Louvre Museum, but we got to hear from world-renowned journalists like Annie Bagmery, the senior editor of International New York Times, Emmy Award winner Jim Bitterman from CNN, and many more.
Going to the International New York Times was a dream come true. I'm absolutely obsessed with them.
Many students enjoyed the talk given by the New York Times bureau chief, Alyssa Rubin, as she dug into the role of an international journalist.
You often are in the wrong place at the time that something happens. But every once in a while the story does come to you, and the hardest part is really to recognize it when it's there.
The students also got to visit UNESCO, where they explored cultural development, education, and international peace, and ended their visit with a tour of the art exhibit. The media seminar educated students on what it meant to be a global citizen and how being a global citizen can help shape the world into a more unified and less destructive way.
So it's something that's important for my studies, but it was also a way for me to get out of my comfort zone and learn about a subject that's different than security and guns and bombs and things like that. So it was a little bit of getting to understand my field better while getting to understand something else better as well.
One of the most engaging talks that we had was with Professor Evelyn Adonko, a Ghanaian native who moved to Paris to start her career but faced many issues due to the color of her skin.
This lady, I remember at IBM, she said, wait a minute, you said you went to school full-time? I said, yes. And you work full-time? I said, yes. She said, it's impossible.
You know, we learned about systemic slavery issues in our schools, so, you know, we do have a racial issue in the United States, but we also, went through this process of eradicating slavery.
Many of the students weren't afraid to express their thoughts during the seminars and to even express their contrasting American experiences. After all the seminars were over, for the last soiree, students attended a cabaret where they chowed down on escargots while dancing with a showgirl and enjoying magic tricks.
Thanks, Nana. That was a great video. So can you tell me a little bit about what was your favorite thing that you saw there in Paris?
Of course, Surya. My favorite part about Paris was meeting a fellow Ghanaian, a professor at the American University of Paris, and her sharing her experiences and tough times facing the tragedy between moving to America from France.
Thanks, Nana. On a Sunday morning, you will typically find tourists leisurely walking up the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. But on a recent Sunday, there was a protest for Syrian freedom, which caught the eyes and ears of many visitors. The Source's Jenna Spoont has the story.
Long live Syria! Long live Syria! Free, free Syria! Free, free Syria!
Hundreds of protesters gathered at the Lincoln Memorial for the 5th annual March for Syria's Freedom.
We're here to just unite and let the world know that, we may be dying at home, we may be struggling, but here we're all together and we're going to return all back home to a free Syria.
This marks the 5th year since the uprising against the Bashar al-Assad regime.
I've never actually been there. My heritage is Syrian, so I actually want something left to go back to and actually get to experience it.
The event organizers placed empty water bottles, each with a white rose, on some of the Lincoln steps to represent the children who have been tortured and killed in Syria. The protesters played the Syrian and United States national anthems during the opening ceremony. And then, an interfaith service with Syrian leaders from the Christian, Jewish, and Muslim faiths. After the chanting and praying, the protesters headed to the White House, hoping to get the attention of President Obama. For The Source, I'm Jen.
The tidal basin has been filling up quickly with tourists in recent days as the cherry blossoms begin to open up with thousands of pink blossoms. Juliet Muir went there and filed this report.
Pink and white petals are filling the air as DC's famous cherry blossoms hit their peak bloom this weekend. Among the tourists, GW's only photography club, DC Through Lens, was there to capture the special occasion.
It's awesome to be able to take the club and get more people people who might not have otherwise come down and taken pictures, get a group together to go do it.
The group gathered GW students at the Foggy Bottom Metro to guide them to the flowers so students could explore the area during this special time of year.
I just look at it as something new and something unique to DC, and it also presents a lot of opportunities, whether that be a parade or just coming out and view it. It's just a new part of DC.
Weird weather brought the flowers a bit early this year, but as you can see, hundreds of people are still here to see them bloom, including the GW students.
Even though it's a little bit crazy with the tours right now, we still think it was worth it to come during the peak bloom.
The peak bloom, when 70% of the blossoms are open, started this weekend and can last around 10 days. However, cooler weather this year should help the blossoms stay on the trees longer, according to the National Park Service. This weekend's opening ceremony kicks off more than 3 weeks of celebration, which end on April 16th with the National Cherry Blossom Parade. Reporting from the tidal basin, this is Juliet Muir with The Source.
The Who rocked DC on a recent Thursday night. Mike Falco was there for The Source.
Men and women of all ages crowded the streets of downtown DC on a recent Thursday night as they made their way to the Who concert at the Verizon Center. The band, which formed in the mid-1960s, is currently on the North American leg of its The Who Hits 50 tour. The tour was delayed last year after lead singer Roger Daltrey contracted a serious throat infection. Prior to the concert, fans were treated to a street show of rock covers by a street band outside the Gallery Place Metro stop. After entering the venue, many fans purchased concert memorabilia, including t-shirts, CDs, and blankets. At 9 o'clock, The Who, headlined by original vocalist Roger Daltrey and the original lead guitarist Pete Townsend, finally took the stage, leading off with a resounding rendition of their hit, Who Are You? Throughout the concert, the band treated the crowd to tidbits of history and the band's biggest hits, before closing the concert with an extended performance of Baba O'Riley and Won't Get Fooled Again. For The Source, I'm Mike Falco.
Did you know that GW has its very own Harry Potter scholar? Hallie Brown and Abby Mansour caught up with Professor Tolanda Henderson to learn about her fascination with the Potter saga.
Why do you love Harry Potter?
Oh, I don't know. Harry Potter studies is a new and emerging discipline, but it would be sort of like Melville studies or Shakespeare studies. So to be able to say there's a body of work that is worth studying as an academic. I go to a conference every year in Albuquerque. The Southwest Popular and American Culture Association has a Harry Potter studies section that I've given papers at. The first paper that I did was about the library at Hogwarts. The analysis that I did ended up being very gender-based because you can't study the library at Hogwarts without studying Hermione. And then the issue is, well, what does that mean? What does the feminization of intellect mean in the context of Harry Potter? So people don't teach Harry Potter itself. They teach with Harry Potter. I could imagine teaching a class, like I said, on disability studies that uses Harry Potter as the text. But I've heard of other people teaching classes that are like, let's use all the dreams in Harry Potter to study psychology. Mr. Potter Goes to Washington is kind of a way that I was trying to teach with Harry Potter. I mean, there's so many museums in DC. I wanted to go to the museum and talk about Rita Skeeter, right? Or you could go to the Spy Museum and talk about Snape. Or you could go to the Air and Space Museum and talk about brooms, right? I'm a sucker for a good story, for a well-told story. And Harry Potter is a very well-told story. It's intricate and it's complex, and yet it's accessible. I think it's ironic. I spend a lot of time on Harry Potter, and I cannot answer that question. What do I like about it? What's not to like about it? So...
There's more to come after the break. Stay tuned to see how others spent the spring break.
Nearly 16 million people visit Washington, D.C. every year. Some come to witness, some to be heard. We come to make an impact, to learn from leaders, and to lead others. To create and create change. We are the George Washington University. We come to make history.
Welcome back. Spring break is a great time for vacations, but for those who stayed home, it's also a great time to catch up on the latest movies. Sam Gordon reviewed 2 new releases. Sam?
Thanks, Syria. Now, spring can be a slow time for new movies. We've just wrapped up award season, and now we're gearing up for summer blockbusters. However, I saw 2 movies that are quirky, independent films that, despite their small budgets, packed a powerful punch.
I'm a scholarship winner.
The first film I saw was The Preppy Connection. Director Joe Costello attempts to take audiences back to the 1980s in this small-budget independent film. Based off of a true story, The Preppy Connection focuses on outsider Toby as he navigates his way through his new private school. His way in? Becoming the school's most popular drug dealer.
I'm 17 years old, and I started and ran an international drug ring.
Director Costello was compelled to make the film because he himself attended an upscale boarding school around the same time the original case involving Derek Otis first broke. Thomas Mann plays Toby, the main character, but since he plays a highly disengaged teenager, it's hard to root for him when he succeeds or feel empathy when he spirals out of control. Opposite Mann as his love interest is Australian actress Lucy Fry. Fry's portrayal of Alex is very subdued yet compelling. There wasn't much chemistry between them, despite the fact that everything Toby did was to impress Alex. Unfortunately, the script is the weakest part of the story, and some scenes are almost too dramatic. In its climax of what should be a high-speed chase, where Toby's crimes catch up to him, the cinematography is shaky yet slow, and it doesn't seem like the characters are running for their lives. Now, this translates to the rest of the film, which doesn't ever find its pace. While it's always good to support independent film, I wouldn't go out of my way to see this.
He's very different than me.
Another independent film recently released is Hello, My Name is Doris, starring Sally Field. The Academy Award-winning actress carries the film and is its heart and soul as the incredibly quirky Doris, doing the same boring job and following the same boring routine. Her life is changed when she awkwardly meets John Fremont, the new art director, played by Max Greenfield. Even though she's at least 25 years older than him, she develops a serious crush and tries to act more his age, even though she can barely find herself in the generation she was brought up in.
No, Doris, it's not like real friends.
While Field is the star, I do have to point out the amazing supporting performances, specifically from Tyne Daly. She plays Doris's best friend, Roz, and has some of the most comedic lines. As a conscientious objector to society, Daly both shines as she disapproves of her friend's antics and then consoles her when Doris completely embarrasses herself. Field hits all of the highs and lows that Doris experiences throughout this film, from pure joy at a punk electric concert filled with millennials to the feeling of ultimate rejection. However, as this is a comedy, the movie ends on an uplifting note, just not one you might have expected.
Definitely go see Hello, My Name is Doris just for Fields and Daly's performances alone. Surya?
Thanks, Sam. Now, for a total change of pace, our source reporter, Brooke Bean, traveled with the women's soccer team as they explored Europe over spring break. She has the whole story.
Days. This spring break was one filled with travel, castles, and a lot of green for the GW women's soccer team. The team left Friday night and arrived early Saturday morning in London, where they met their tour guide Mike.
Okay. Did you manage to get a bit of sleep on the plane? I hear one or two of you.
They were soon off to sightseeing, including famous landmarks like Westminster Abbey, Big Ben, and Buckingham Palace. That evening, the girls went to a professional game between Fulham and Bristol City. It was an exciting one that ended with a stunning last-minute goal to give Bristol City the win. After a good night's rest, the team headed back into London and explored the South Bank. They ate in the famous Portobello Market, and some even rode the London Eye. That night, they played their first game against a local professional team. Before leaving England, the team explored Windsor and toured the historic Old Trafford Stadium, where Manchester United plays. A couple hours later, they went across town and watched Manchester City play Dynamo Kiev. Then, on to Wales, where the team completed a community service project at a small homeless shelter, and later enjoyed the beautiful views and explored Conway Castle. Finally, a ferry trip to Ireland for St. Patrick's Day. The girls had free rein to explore and enjoy the St. Patrick's Day festivities. Everyone was decked out in green, kids even perched on signs, and families brought ladders to get the best view of the floats and performers. The streets cleared up fast, and the bars quickly filled after the parade ended. With one full day left in Europe, the team explored the rest of Dublin and played their final game. It was a tiring week, but one filled with exploration and good times. For The Source, this is Brooke Bean reporting.
For my break, I stayed on this side of the Atlantic. I went down to Florida, where I enjoyed a fabulous art show in Miami. I hope you enjoy the sights and sounds.
Many students left the white towering monuments in the nation's capital in favor of warmer weather. Sun, sea, and sand are the big draws of the Magic City. It's very culturally diverse because of its proximity to Latin America. Thousands of spring breakers came out to South Beach in droves to experience firsthand what makes this city and its energy so distinct.
Miami is the epitome of the melting pot. We have a little bit of everything here. We have all different types of cultures, which is really great because there's a lot to choose from culturally, both with food and with music.
No matter if you are from Jamaica, from Haiti, or from Brazil, we all share the same word, we all share the same rhythm, and music helps us understand each other better.
Miami is a popular spring break location for college students.
But you don't have to be a spring breaker to enjoy Wynwood Doors. It's a street art exhibit spearheaded by Tony Goldman in 2009.
Personally, this is like my opinion. I wish, and I think there's some Miami artists here, but outside of Wynwood Walls,